Hello, hello. Once again, my name is John Plecnik, and I'm honored to serve as a Lake County Commissioner. But I think more relevant to this discussion here, because no one's here to campaign. I'll admit, I don't even know where Zanesville is. But Keith Davies said, you need to be here, and I'm here. Because no one has done more for the movement to end property taxes in Ohio than Keith, and we are grateful to him for that. A round of applause, come on. You can call me Commissioner Plecnik, but you can also call me Professor Plecnik, because I've spent the greater part of my life studying tax law. Practiced law in New York, got my law degree at Duke University, and my Master of Laws in Taxation at NYU. So I've spent the better part of my life studying equity, fairness, what's right, what's wrong, what works, what doesn't, when it comes to the revenue and expenses of government. And we all know that taxation is what we call a necessary evil. It's necessary because there are some things we need. We need a strong military. We need to take care of our families and our seniors. There are some things that have to be done, but we need to limit that necessary evil as much as possible. Yes, there have to be taxes, but they've got to be low. And unfortunately, just as the federal government has been printing and printing and printing money, which ultimately hit us all as an inflation tax, local and state government has been printing money their own way by upping and upping and upping our property taxes with inflation. Now, many of you have heard about House Bill 920 that was supposed to prevent inflationary increases in our property taxes. But by now we've all learned that didn't include the 10 mills of inside millage, and it doesn't include any millage for schools under the 20 mil floor, which, forget all the technicalities, that's about 2/3 of Ohio. So the vast majority of us are experiencing massive inflationary gains. Let's step back for a moment. Government prints money. Government spends it. And then our taxes go up even as all of our expenses go up. We're getting hit from both ends. And while Keith is absolutely right, no one is hurt more than this, than seniors on a fixed income, than our disabled veterans and folks who don't have an increase in their paycheck. The truth is, it's reached a point where all of us, every Ohioan, is suffering because of these inflationary increases. And what really grinds my grits, sir, I see your Trump hat, and let me just say, God bless you, and God bless Donald Trump. What really grinds my grits is that even as our state came together to elect Donald J. Trump, not once, not twice, but 3 times, amen? Even as we came together and ushered in the golden era of America and rejected the ridiculous nonsense of Kamala Harris. I don't even think she knew what she was saying. I certainly couldn't understand her. We rejected the principal platform of her tax plan, which was to tax unrealized gains, to tax you on income you haven't even earned yet. Now, we rightly laughed when that was the grand proposal to somehow balance the federal budget. But that's exactly what property taxes are in Ohio. They're a tax on unrealized gains. You buy your house, and then magically you get a letter in the mail every 3 years saying it's worth more and more and more, even as the paint chips, the windows break, and you know darn well you couldn't sell your house for half what the auditor says you could. But even if you could sell your house, here's the thing, where do you live? Where do you live? The rent is too damn high. And good luck finding a place you can afford to buy. So the reality is you're being told you're richer and richer and richer. The truth is you're poorer and poorer and poorer, and the only person spending money is the government. It's squeezing everyone else out. So as we acknowledge that Kamala Harris had a crazy proposal, tax unrealized gains, we need to understand that is exactly how property taxes in Ohio operate today. And the very first reform that our state legislature should implement, long before the people are forced to put a petition on the ballot to eliminate property taxes, is to freeze your property values at your sales price. That is a fair, objective way to set value. How much did a willing buyer pay a willing seller? If If I pay $100,000 for my house, that's what it should be worth on my property tax bill until the day I sell it to someone else for more or less. And you know what else that does? Not only does it ensure that property taxes don't get jacked up with inflation, we get rid of an army of government bureaucrats. Do you know how many people are employed for the totally pointless endeavor of revaluing your property and taxing you more every 3 years? Imagine how many bureaucrats we could send marching to a real job and produce real value, marching out, if we simply got rid of this whole bureaucratic system. There's no point in wasting our money on revaluing our houses just to pay government more. We may as well just hand them our wallets and say, take it all. So number one, no tax on unrealized gains. Right here, right now, if our state legislators care about us, they should say property values equal sales price, period. Simplify the system, get rid of the bureaucrats, and stop raising our taxes based on inflation. The second reform that should happen today, not after a year or two of work collecting signatures, if our state legislature cares about us, is a 100% property tax exemption for our seniors. 100%. 65 years of taxes isn't enough, folks. If you can't run a public school or a local government on 65 years of taxes, quit and let someone competent do the job. I'm sorry. This is not saying defund the government. If you can't run on 65 years of taxes from every American, you don't deserve that job because you don't know how to budget. It is absolutely ridiculous to expect seniors on a fixed income who are past their earning years, who are retired, to somehow put the world on their back like Atlas and keep on going. That is unsustainable, and we are taxing seniors out of their homes. It is unreal. And we are killing people, folks. Make no mistake, I'm sure there are folks in the crowd right now who know exactly what I'm saying because it's happening to them. Some of us, this is a horrible thing. It's an imposition. But for some of us, it's life and death. Because when you tell a senior, you have to pay so much in property tax, you need to sell your home, you need to move, more often than not, they die. More often than not, without their family and their support system with them to take care of them and help them. You take someone who's already in poor health and say, move to Indiana, good luck on your own. We all know what the studies say. They don't live long. So don't tell me you care about Ohioans, and don't you dare tell me you care about seniors if you say I can't afford to exempt seniors. And by the way, I remember talking to a few politicians, and they said, well, so you're suggesting we cater to a special interest group. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Seniors are a special interest now? No. No, seniors are not a special interest. Every single one of us, should we be so blessed to have a long life, will be a senior. And you know what? If I am blessed to live to be 65, to live to be 75, to live to be 80, I would hope and pray that my neighbors would have enough respect for me that they would let me live and age in place. Stay in the home that I built, earned, and put for myself when I was younger, and die in my own home with a little bit of dignity. That is the least that Americans in Ohio deserve. That's not some huge gift. It is the least that we owe each other. We're talking about ourselves, folks. We will all be there someday. And we are screwing ourselves if we say, well, I'm not 65 yet, so I don't care. Because we all know how the time flies. And it's time for us to start caring now so that we'll all be able to take care of each other, age in place, and live and die in our own homes tomorrow. So I want to say again, for me, the two things our state legislature should be doing today, not tomorrow, not a year from now, not after we think about it, is number one, no tax on unrealized gains. We need to freeze property values and sales prices. And number two, a 100% property tax exemption for our seniors. They've earned it. This is not something we're giving them. They have earned it. And I want to tell you, where I see pushback on Keith and Citizens for Property Tax Reform, where I see pushback on Lobbyists for Citizens and Brian Massey, where I see pushback in Portage County with Elaine Cross, as people say, well, how is government going to afford such a big cut? how can they afford it? You need to give us a plan. No! By the way, my nickname in Lake County is Commissioner No. It's the most beautiful word. It's the most beautiful word in the English language. No. And you're asking the wrong question. We're not here to say how government can afford to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. We should be asking, how do grandma and grandpa afford to pay these excessive property taxes? How does a young family afford a home and start to build that value and pay those taxes that actually pay for this enormous bureaucracy we call government? How can anyone afford to live when local and state government keeps printing money in the form of higher and higher and higher property taxes? The answer is we can't afford it. So stop asking the wrong questions. It's not about how do we keep giving government more. It's not about how do we afford government. The only way you win this game is if you starve the beast. We need Doge in Ohio. We need Doge in every county. And I want to hear how you can operate on 50% of your budget, and then I want next year to hear how you can cut it another 50%. It's time for government to start sacrificing, not the people. You're supposed to, at least supposed to work for us. I mean, it's amazing to me as someone who's had the opportunity to serve as a city councilman and a county commissioner. I'm a nothing and a nobody. These folks at the state level don't even see a person when they look at me or you. But I've seen enough of government, even at the local level, to tell you it is a leviathan. And the more you feed the beast, the bigger it grows, and there will always be a reason why the world will end if you don't pay the overlord more. And so the answer has to be no, we're done, this is too much, and we will never pay you more again. From now on, there should be a reduction every year. We need a Doge dividend. You tell me how much you're going to save me every year, not how much more I have to pay. The update every 3 years should be, we are 20% more efficient, here's your money back. Yeah. But let me tell you something, the way we get there is not by asking politely. It doesn't work. Let me tell you, I have asked my state reps and senators, and yours too, so many times. They see Plecnik on the phone and they're like, locked. So the way we get actual change is not by asking politely. They don't want to hear it. They've already decided we're going to pass some nonsense, declare victory, and say we saved y'all a lot of money. I mean, to give you an example, Keith, I got to correct you, they actually did pass one property tax reform bill in Columbus in the past week or so. It eliminates replacement levies. So now, instead of passing a replacement levy, they just pass a renewal levy on you. Whoa, what a savings. Doesn't cut property taxes 1 cent, but they can't pass replacement levies anymore, thank God, right? That is the kind of crumbs Keith is talking about that they hope are going to satisfy all of you sitting here today. That if they just pass a few symbolic pieces of legislation and declare victory, we all go home and they don't have to worry about this for 3 more years. But what they don't understand is that this isn't just an annoyance to the people of Ohio, and it's not just unfair. It's reached a point where the citizen cannot afford this anymore. It is life and death, it is the survival of Ohio that we have to reform property tax now. And when I say reform, I don't mean cut my tax by 1%. I don't mean eliminate one kind of levy and pass another. I don't mean some hyper-technical reform where there's a bill signing with the governor and everyone smirks. I mean, I see my bill and it's 50% of what it was last year. I see my bill and it's a zero instead of thousands of dollars that I can't afford. That's reform. And unless if you're willing to deliver that kind of reform, I would say to our state reps and senators, you're not qualified. You don't know how to do this job. Let someone like Keith Davies take it, for God's sake. He actually wants to change things. Now, I'm smart enough to say I don't want to be a state rep or a senator. It is a corrupt, miserable swamp down there. But if we're going to drain the swamp, we're going to have to do it ourselves because the politicians will not do it for us. And I want to tell everyone here, this is how I want to close, because I don't believe in giving a speech and rah, rah, rah. I believe in action items. I believe in changing things. And I'm going to tell you, not just as a commissioner, but as a tax professor, not just as your neighbor, but as someone who's studied politics and law and tax, you want to change things? We need to start putting major pressure on these folks now, because there's nothing that these folks care about more than being popular. There's nothing they care about more than winning re-election. And I'm telling you that if we support this reform to 100% abolish all property taxes, and at the same time, we keep knocking on their doors, calling their phones, and flooding their inboxes with emails, every state rep, every state senator, and the governor too, they will realize that the only way they get their next election, their next title, their next triumph, is if they at least pretend to give a damn about Ohio. And then they'll say, I was with you all along. And that is the only way we're going to get change. But if we politely ask, they're going to say it's complicated. I'm sorry. Oh, there's no way. I've tried. Trust me, I'm with you, but I'm a tax professor, so I call BS. I'm the one who says it's complicated. I actually understand this issue, and the problem is simple. The problem is government is addicted to our money. And it's not about whether we can afford a property tax cut or not. Afford. What we can't afford is to keep wasting our money and keep giving you more and more and more. You need to become more efficient. We need to wean you off of this promise that you're going to have unlimited money on the backs of the taxpayer every single year. It's got to stop. And if we support Citizens for Property Tax Reform and good cop, bad cop this, the good cop is you pass something tomorrow and you fix it. The bad cop is we're taking all your money if you don't. And that's how we're going to fix this. And I sincerely believe that if Donald Trump and Elon Musk were standing right here, this is how they'd fix the problem. They wouldn't say, how are we going to pay for government? They'd say, cut them in half and let them deal with it. So let's cut them. So with that, let me just say, the only thing I can ask of you is let's stand together as Ohioans and let's actually fix this. Let's be the founding fathers and mothers of the golden age of Ohio. Let's join our President Donald Trump. Let's bring Doge here. And every time someone says, we can't afford a tax cut, we say, we can't afford you. Bye-bye.